Anyway, when I came across this again after this huge dissolution of all my previous relationships that I had based my identity on, and this transvaluation of values, I realized, well, it's up to me now. I have to figure it out. I have to resolve this situation within myself, because all other avenues exterior to me were blocked, for lack of a better word, at this point. And I realized that through my studies I could find my way through. And I realized that there were other authors that I was reading. Campbell was one of them, Carl Jung. Campbell helped me to understand Joyce. Joyce also went through the process. And I'm seeing now in Toynbee. Toynbee's going through the process. And it's the great adventure. It's the great journey of self-discovery. However, this discovery within ourselves is highly subjective, and I came to realize that everybody's going through it, and they're all on their own little trip, and they're all telling themselves their own little story, and this story takes form from their values, and those values give purpose and meaning to their life. But what I'm enjoying about Toynbee is that he shows that this universal state is not the end. It's part in a whole cycle. It is the end of a cycle. And that's what I'm really interested in at this point, is that, okay, I've got this mandala. I have this grand unifying directive that seems to be able to incorporate a great many values. And so at that point, what I decided was, well, let's go test this. You know, I had lost myself so completely, or what I thought I was anyway, based on these codependent relationships. And basically, codependency comes down to this: I will make you feel good if you make me feel good. And if you don't make me feel good, I'm going to make you suffer. That kind of crap. It basically comes down to that. And being that I had gone through a tremendous destabilization in that my values had changed, my values had become devalued, everything I believed in was shown to be false. When confronted with the facts of my life and the events that occurred, you know, I came to realize that everybody tells themselves their own little story based on their own experience, and that I needed to try to test what schematic I had figured out, what had come to me through my studies and my experience. I needed to test this hypothesis. And I realized this is fine for some people some of the time, but it's not something people do all the time, where they stay in this place of not really knowing, just sort of testing the waters. And there are a lot of requirements and necessities out in our daily world that demand of us that we take a stance and a posture with life that is unwavering. And the higher one's title, the more demand is placed upon that person. That they stay true to a single stance and posture. And to me, this makes perfect sense as to why people rebel, you know, why we have so many people in authority who abuse their power. They've become fixed and set fast. They've been demanded that they take a certain stance and posture, and if they hold true to that stance and posture, it becomes rigid and inflexible, and so they have to have these emotional eruptions with unconscious behavior that is contrary to the stance and posture that they're holding. What this does is it gives little releases of pent-up anxiety and frustration and stress. Everything's fluid, it's growing and changing and becoming and unfolding. And so when we take a fixed and steadfast posture, for instance, if I over-rely on this little rendition of the world that I've got here, this little mandala, this little grand organizing directive, if I stay fixed and steadfast in that, I could be creating a tremendous problem for me and much more stress than is necessary. So the point to my little, rendition is that everything is growing and changing and becoming and unfolding, and there are multiple and various perspectives that unfold and actually complement and affirm each other, but we've got to have that dual vision that enables this growth and change and interchange and exchange and everything to happen. I'm just trying to explain way more than I'm just trying to explain it all. It's all right here, and I know it's here and I have the experience of it, but to bring it into words and put it linearly, step by step by step is it's fine for some, but for me it's not doesn't fit in right now. Anyway, I went out into the world to test these ideas, test these experiences, and over and over they rang true. And when I would meet resistance with somebody, this is something I learned tremendous. It was a great boon of Jeffrey Wolf Green's. That if I met resistance, that I needed to reevaluate, what I was doing and why I was doing it. And do I need to really confront and break through the resistance that I'm receiving? And the reason why this was important for me was because I had done this naturally as a child, as a young man. It comes natural to me to break through. But you can break through and then you leave the other person having broken through all their fixed ideas, and they become destabilized, and that does more harm than good if you're not there with that person for the long haul. Psychology is this way in that you help the patient come through their limitations, but then they're left in this new realm, and it's important that we don't just leave somebody, we don't just throw them into the desert and say, okay, now make your way. Here's a whole new entire environment. I think of people in the military who are trained to go into all these different environments and all these different situations, but the only reason they're trained to do all that stuff is in battle and for battle, to win. And that's not my stance and posture with life. I do not need to subjugate another as their superior to make them my inferior. I don't need to do that. And I consider this a privilege. And I understand that there are some people that do need to do that. They choose those roles for themselves in their life to do that for the greater good or for whatever. I understand all that. However, it has not unfolded in my life that be my destiny, and it hasn't been a requirement of me, though at times I've been forced into a corner, but my response has always been the same, and that is one of resolution, not through conflict but through liberation